It is the Friday edition of Weather and Ag in Focus. Ought to be a fabulous day because it's a little bit sunny and warm out there. I'm very excited. The wind, so the wind I'm maybe not quite as excited about, but I can say driving home from Sioux Falls last night, I didn't have the same terrible headwind that I had on the last trip. So it's almost like I was making up mileage, right? Like things are just going that great. I was probably burning up great mileage just because of no wind for a change. Today, unfortunately, that's going to be a bit of a concern. Winds are certainly quite gusty, especially out in our open areas. Now, supposedly, we're going to get to about 70 degrees today. I cannot confirm or deny as of yet. But after the show, I do plan to get to a grocery store, so there's a good chance I'll be able to confirm or deny at that point. If you can tell me that yes or no, we did indeed hit 70 degrees where you are today, I'd love to hear it. You can go ahead and send emails to me, Ag Director Bridgette Readel. You can reach me at ag@flagfamily.com. Pretty easy. Phone calls. We love phone calls. We're always open to them because there's the How's Addison Doing Get Well card, which you can just call him at 701-293-9000. That's the JLA Insurance phone line. There's nothing wrong with Addison. He's completely healthy. But sometimes we just like to make sure people call and check on him because he's the guy who has to act like an octopus during this whole show, making sure everything is running smoothly in the background. So if you want to check on Addison, you can do that on the JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000. And if you're watching because you like this as a TV show versus just radio, well, you're in luck because Lighthouse Commodities brings us to you streaming on Facebook, YouTube, as well as Acres TV. We're so glad to have you here with us. What a beautiful day. And going into the weekend, we're going to hit some temperatures upper 50s, maybe even 60 degrees. So for many of you who fired up the corn planter and are going strong, you can continue to keep that planting going. We do still have nights in the 30s, so be aware of that. By the time we get into Monday, man, we could be in the upper 60s. What a nice change of pace. I had some updates from like Bismarck, Minot, Washburn, Velva areas as far as planting is concerned. And some of those places, such as north of Bismarck at Washburn, they're 70% planted right now. So they're making great progress. In fact, they're at a point where they'd probably take a little bit of rainfall because of two reasons. One, once you get the crop, and it's always nice to get some rain on there to make sure you get your crop up, emerged, and going strong. But two, with the dry plant material that's out there, because we know that there's still dry top growth on stubble fields or out in pastures, the red flag warning has gone up for potential fires. So keep an eye out for those. There was a grass fire out by Rich, Goodrich, North Dakota yesterday, and we don't want to see any more of those, that's for sure. So folks are keeping an eye out and being cautious when they're out in the fields so those types of things don't happen. Friday should be a day for good news, don't you think? It should be the way to end on a positive note. And here's one. Dakota Layers is an egg production facility down in South Dakota. If you were looking for them, you'd be able to find them in Flandreau, South Dakota. And they have had a partnership for the last 10 years with Feeding South Dakota. I always think of Feeding South Dakota as similar to our Great Plains Food Bank up here in this region. And in those 10 years, they've managed to give away 5.2 million eggs from Dakota Layers to Feeding South Dakota. Their newest promotion brought 900 dozen eggs from Dakota Layers to Feeding South Dakota. How'd they do it? Well, they didn't just hand them over. What they did was they went to the South Dakota State Jackrabbits men's basketball team, and their guard, Lee Hartle, every time he scored a point, well, another dozen eggs was donated. And then additionally, for every free throw made by both the men's and women's basketball teams on their home court, then there was another dozen eggs. That brought the total to 900 dozen. That was 365 that came from the free throws done by both teams, and 110 from Hartle's points. And the rest was simply a donation with business. I think that's an awesome way to get participation for people to be paying attention and cheering on those donations. So very nice work between Dakota Layers and Feeding South Dakota. That was 900 dozen eggs donated for use by those who need them most. Really glad to see that. Often during our show, you hear me talk about Tech Support Farm. And Chris Sherman over at Tech Support Farm does a fabulous job of making sure that your cybersecurity is secure. He's had a busy week. Many of his clients have reported email breaches. So what that means is they were able to catch it and stop it before scammers were able to delve too deeply into emails, before they were able to cause financial damage to those clients. And they're on the uptick. We've heard more and more of those hackers trying to get into municipalities and to schools. Well, here's another one that I want us to think about. And also keep in mind that if you have any of these types of concerns, you should be calling Chris Sherman over at Tech Support Farm. You can reach him on their website, techsupport.farm. But here is an interesting story. And I think the reason why it sticks with me so much is Colorado farmer Casey Kimbrell is actually a guy I know. I've met him through social media. He and his wife, Lindsay, are wonderful people. And again, they farm ranch in Colorado. Casey got a call back in April, and a friend was calling to ask him about the land that he had for sale. Casey said, "Hold on. I'm not selling any land. Actually, there was a scammer who had gone ahead, contacted a little known realtor, and was using Casey's name and address and listing one of Casey's tracts of land for sale with all of the financial information going to the scammer. So if the transaction had gone through, all of the money would have gone to the scammer. Casey's land really wasn't for sale. There would be no change of title. And whomever had been purchasing would certainly have been out quite a bit of money. So it sounds like these types of scams are going up tremendously over the last year to year and a half as well when it comes to land assets. When you visit with folks who are in law enforcement, even the head of real estate services, they've said that they've gotten such a high percentage of calls, 3 to 5 a day, right? Or excuse me, 3 to 5 a week, from scammer sellers saying they want to talk to a realtor about selling property. But the problem is they don't actually own it. So something to definitely keep in mind. Additionally, it's happening in the housing sector. Fake markets on trying to sell someone's house when you still own your house, somebody else is trying to sell it and take the money for it. We've seen it with machinery. We've talked about that with the Cephas Group when we've had them in for On the Auction Block twice a month. And indeed, if you think you see something on Facebook Marketplace, etc., and you're wondering to yourself, wow, that seems like it's really good. Is it too good to be true? Yes, it probably is too good to be true. And don't be wiring any money if you can't ensure that that is actually a piece of machinery for sale and one that will be delivered to you. These are very coordinated and organized campaigns. And these fraudulent attempts don't always work, but when they do, the stakes and the dollars are extremely high with what's going on. So bear that in mind. Some of those red flags to watch out for: if you have a scammer that's trying to only communicate via email or text, they have a sincere amount of pressure on you to close quickly. They're unusually low in the market, inconsistent, vague answers about the property, and especially that refusal to meet in person or verify the identity. So keep an eye out for those potential things happening. We know that with planting, there's already some herbicide applications that are going on, and more to come after our crop is out of the ground. Reminders: tank cleanout is going to continue to be very, very important. And if you've ever followed the gentleman over at sprayers101.com, they do a phenomenal job of making our reminders in a little bit of fun. Kevin DeVoe and Tom Wolf are spray experts. They are out of Ontario, and they want to make sure that you don't run into problems with carryover in your sprayers. Just a couple of reminders as you're thinking ahead about the next time you've got to clean out that sprayer. You want to run that spray tank empty in the field, and then about 10x the amount of sump remnant. So what's down in the sump at the bottom of your sprayer, add about 10x that amount of water back, circulate, repeat blowing it out. Make sure to clean the water pump, wash down your nozzle, defoamer, and then be sure you're using a good cleaning agent or anything that you've used, like brushes, a bucket with water in it, etc., after you're all done. And some of those stubborn herbicides, like the SUs, the sulfonylureas, and also pyrimidines. They need ammonia, and they also need thorough agitation to get that residue dissolved. In the days of spraying sugar beets, I distinctly remember folks keeping separate sprayers that ran the SUs, those sulfonylureas in them, so that it would never have contamination back into a sensitive crop. When you're trying to get that clean in the sprayer, flush that plumbing, the boom ends, the filters, remove any trapped residue, open all of the valves, and repeat dilution, not in single large flushes, but several equal small volume rinses are important because we certainly don't want to see carryover into a sensitive crop after we have used and sprayed in this situation. All right, we are going to be joined by Greg Hansen for our every Friday segment, Market Uncovered. We will also have a conversation with Greg Johnson, who works with Dynamic Cropping Systems over in Minnesota. We've got updates, I've got reminders, and so much more after the livestock report from the American Ag Network. Fridays at this time, we are joined by Greg Hansen with Market Uncovered, Hansen Agri Commodities. All right, Greg, did I miss any big news in the markets this week?
Yeah, a lot up and down. It's all about war premium. Monday was a big up move. Tuesday, Wednesday, big down move. Today, we're putting a little war premium back in. So if you don't like the price, wait a day, you'll get a different headline. Uh, so we'll see what happens over the weekend with the Iran. I know we've given them a deal. They passed on it today. There's been some shooting back and forth. We're going to give them another deal. We'll see. We've seen some war premium going in and out, so that's been a lot of this week. But there's a lot going on next week. You've got
Hmm.
crop report coming out on Tuesday, which will give us our first official new crop balance sheet. Trump and Xi are gonna, assuming nothing blows
Hmm.
up in Iran as far as escalation, Trump is supposed to go to China Thursday, Friday. So, hopefully something positive comes out of that. So there's some things going on as we move forward here, looking into next week. Planting progress in the valley is going to be off and running now the next few days. So, and with the size of our equipment, we're going to get a lot on the ground every day going forward. The forecast looks pretty darn good. So yeah, there's a lot of things happening.
You are spot on. Just this morning, I had a farmer, even from Iowa. He said, we were really worried. We weren't getting in the field in time, but we've got the majority of our crop done in 8 days. No, that's no breakdowns, but we can move pretty fast to get planting done if we try, at least for
Yeah, I
corn.
mean, with the size of our equipment, you give us a window, we can get it in. So I personally
Absolutely.
don't get too worked up over planning delays. Um, you know, we don't need that big a window and we can get a lot done.
I tell you what, you taught me a new word today, war premium. Can't wait to use that. I did also see, was there a little bit of a rally in wheat? I mean, if there is, that makes my heart happy because I love raising wheat.
Well, I mean, we've had a pretty good run, for a couple weeks ago. Just this winter wheat crop in Kansas is just really poor.
Hmm.
Seasonally, this is about the time when we kind of peak out. So, you know, that crop in the western third of Kansas is as bad as advertised. There's areas they're talking like 15, 20 bushel. Like with the wheat tour, the first day of that Kansas wheat tour will show some good crops, and then it's going to be worse from there going forward. But I think we're to the point now where, I mean, is it buy the rumor, sell the facts? We were buying it and had a good run on that chatter. And now that we know where the crop is, take your money off the table. So I wonder if where wheat was the driver for about a 10-day, 2 week window, it feels like corn is kind of the one driving the show from the ag complex today. Beans were over the winter. Now it does feel like corn is the one with kind of the support going on underneath it.
I have heard comments from a number of growers that as you start to look into, forward contracting, you're actually seeing some reasonably okay prices on corn. And as you mentioned, as we watch this Kansas wheat crop not look awesome, maybe we'll see a little bit more to that too.
Well, I think the futures are now. Base is a whole different story, and we've been talking about that
Hmm.
internally here in the office today. But from the future side, there's about five, six, seven things that are underneath this corn market. You've got the war premium, of course. You've got where crude prices are with energies. There is some concern with what's going on in the strait over there. Everyone wants to talk about the 80, 100 boats of crude going through a day. No one's really necessarily, other than the ag industry, saying, hey, 30% of the world's urea comes from that
Yeah.
area. And even if the war ended tonight and we started, you just don't fire those urea making factories up. It takes some time. 4 to 6 months to kind of refill the global pipeline. Well, Brazil and Argentina are going to be planting in 4 to 5 months. For us with fall application, it's 5 months. Yeah, we could maybe have things lined up by spring, but there's all of this concern about, can we assume that the yields we've seen in the past will be the same as we move forward if we don't get fertilizer in the right places. So I think that has definitely been helping prop up not only this year but like the 27 crop numbers too. So you've got that going on. We've got awesome demand. I mean, the when you look at the spread between unleaded and ethanol, some massive margins. We are grinding ethanol and trying to produce it as fast as we can because they're blending in the maximum amount we're allowed. That's good. Exports are really good. Actually, if you look at for with where we live on the globe here, we rely on that West Coast bid. Um, if we continue to load corn at the pace we're loading in the next 3 weeks, we will set the record for most corn exports in a marketing year off the West Coast ever. And we still got 3 more months of the marketing year to go. That's the
Okay.
pace that we're exporting corn. The problem is our basis isn't doing anything. There is so much corn in Minnesota and the Dakotas that I kind of was wondering since December, is the government off on their production number here for the Northwest? I'm a firm believer they have underestimated the Minnesota Dakotas as far as crop size, because if you've got this massive demand on ethanol and this massive export program, why hasn't basis really gotten any better? It's because there is just so much corn out here.
And they've always underestimated us. But your point about the West Coast ports, I had a listener send me a headline asking if this is an impact to our market at all. And it was a discussion about the USDA and the Import Export Bank selling more overseas grains. Maybe that's what was going on at the ports that we saw that increase, as you mentioned, about how much we're loading to ship.
I think it's all the above. I mean, actually, China's not really in that number. When you think about corn exports, we're doing this without China necessarily buying a whole lot of corn. I think they might buy some next week,
Hmm.
but it's everybody else is coming to the U.S. and buying our corn, and so it's a free for all on the West Coast. There is rumblings from the railroads that elevation capacity might be booked through the end of July. So I mean, yeah, there might be room for a boat here, boat there, but we are going to keep loading out. Whether it's mostly corn, but there's some beans, there's some wheat, there's some meal. A lot of it's corn. We're pushing this corn crop out, but there's so much of it around here. I mean, we had one huge crop here in the Northwest Corn Belt, and if you had unlimited money and unlimited storage, it would pay to hold this crop till next summer. Um,
Okay.
is that realistic? I mean, this corn crop in the Bend's going
No.
to have a birthday in a few months. So we got to get it moved. But theoretically, I mean, the market would pay you to hold it till then if you could, but it's just not feasible for the vast majority of the people out here.
Question from a listener that was just emailed to me. And again, for anyone who wants to, you can send them ag@flagfamily.com. This listener happens to be in southeast North Dakota, probably not too terribly far from an ethanol plant or two. And the question is, if the ethanol grind is fake, why is the basis at the ethanol plants 60 to 65 cents?
I don't think the ethanol grind is fake. I think they are grinding as fast as they physically can. When you look at the margins that are out here, they are not grinding for efficiency. They are not trying to get the last drop of ethanol out of every bushel of corn. They are entering those fermenters 1, 2, 3, 4 days early and push it through so we can get the next batch of corn in, because it's all about volume right now. It's not about
Mm-hmm.
efficiency. And same thing with bean plants. If you're a bean plant, it's the same thing. You're trying to crush those beans as fast as you can. When you look at where these margins are in the processing industry, corn and beans both, it's like running a printing press. They're just making bags of money every day that they're grinding because the margins are just fantastic. And that's great. Good for them. Just remember to pass some of it on to us, for the guys that are supplying the product. But no, the demand from that side. I mean, the reason the basis is so poor is we have that much corn around.
We are sitting on volume. Okay. And like you said,
Yeah.
there's a lot of product out there that's about to have another birthday as well. So Greg Hansen Agri Commodities, thank you for joining us as you do on Fridays. Much appreciated. And where can folks find you outside of this segment?
Well, you can give me a call at 507-338-6433. You can always check out our website at hansen-ag.com, or you can check out our Facebook page at Hansen Agri Commodities.
All right. Thank you so very much. And folks, stay tuned. We're going to visit with our next Greg up. That's going to be Greg Johnson. He's with Dynamic Cropping Systems out of Minnesota. Be right back. Are you thinking about a building project? If so, Anderco Enterprises is there to work with you. More than 20 years of experience, not only in business, but agricultural buildings, commercial, industrial, all the above. They are known for their quality of work. And again, more than 20 years of testimonials from happy customers, warehouses, heated shops, steel frame buildings. Oh, and those spectacular barn dominiums. And if you want to talk with them, you can find them at andercoenterprises.com or give a call 701-277-7078. Well, my next guest took advantage of the JLA Insurance Crop Line. That is Crop JLA Insurance line. Goodness. And that number is 701-293-9000. And we are joined by Greg Johnson. Greg works with Dynamic Cropping Systems. Some of you may be familiar with that name from our full day event of the WDAY Radio Farm Show. And so, Greg, we're going to talk about more than just the drones that are going on over at DCS. What's the product line that you and I want to visit about today?
Well, we've got a few that you know, we've got three companies that we represent, primarily, you know, primarily every product that we deal with has to do with improving the performance of the crop inputs everybody's already using, whether it's, you know, using, you know, new technologies like nanotechnology, small particle technology to get more active ingredient into the plant. Whether, like I said, whether it's nutrients, you know, dry fertilizer and liquid fertilizer, or whether it's pesticides, you know, protecting that investment and getting the most out of it.
Talk about the nanotechnology. All right, so we're still delivering the same amount of product, just in smaller, more easy to absorb particles in the plant, or am I missing the boat on how that works?
Well, I mean, I'll give you the quick 101, I guess, on nanotechnology. So
Good.
nanoparticles. Okay, so nanoparticles technically are and you know, the company we deal with called NanoYield. On the nanotechnology side, NanoYield has these silica-based nanoparticles are between 10 and 100 nanometers in size, or in width, I should say. So that's very small. A virus, for example, is 100 nanometers in width. But you know, the size is important here because, you know, a glyphosate molecule is about 2 nanometers in width. The urea molecule is about 0.35 nanometers in width. So we can attract and then, you know, fill these nanoparticles. Think of a wiffle ball or whatever. We're gonna fill these nanoparticles both internally and externally with active ingredient molecules, and then bring them in through a third. You know, most of the time everything gets into the plant, whether it's through the leaf or whether it's through the root, it'll get into the plant through a process, you know, either through diffusion or active transport. Nanotechnology adds another essentially mode of action to that, where those nanoparticles are brought into the plant through a process called endocytosis. And endocytosis happens very quickly. I mean, there's studies where we apply, for example, there's a study in Florida that was done on systemic fungicides, and they sprayed the Nano Pro plus the fungicide, and then just the fungicide on the plant. And then 2 hours after application and 10 hours after application, they were able to, what they did is they pulled the leaves, washed the leaves off, and then had the plant tested for how much active ingredient had gotten inside the plant. At 2 hours after application, the fungicide by themselves, it was, I believe, I won't say any trade names, I guess, but at 2 hours after application, there was virtually no fungicide in the plant. With the Nano Pro, the nanotechnology in the tank, the majority of the active ingredient that was going to get in the plant was already in the plant. So it speeds up the process of we get more into the plant, and we get it in a lot faster simply by adding nanotechnology.
by adding that, we're coming in through the plant cuticle, or like you said, if we're doing it, through the root system, and the pace, the quickness is so much better. The absorption, we're not losing things or what's applied by photosynthesis breakdown. We're not, or photodegradation, et cetera, right? That's where we're headed with
Uh,
this.
uh, yep, absolutely. And so we not only get more in. I mean, we not only get in faster, but we get more in. There was a trial done at the University of Nebraska where they have huge problems with kochia in Nebraska. So they were trying to see, how much more active ingredient we could get into the plant. So, what they did is they applied 2,4-D and they applied dicamba. Each treatment was by itself, and then added the nanotechnology to the tank. Again, at 24 hours after application, they took the samples or sent them into the lab. With the 2,4-D, it was 100% more. Twice the active ingredient had gotten into the plant at 24 hours after application. With dicamba, there was about a 65% increase. So
Does
it's
that increase like the efficiency in the plant? So if you're doing it with a 2,4-D or a dicamba, is it a faster knockdown of that plant? Is it just speeding up the reaction, if you will, to control the weed?
Yeah, I mean we get more in, so yeah, we do see a quicker knockdown. I mean, we see that a lot with glyphosate, for example, where how glyphosate works. It's 5 to 7 days depending on the weather, and we'll see substantially faster than that. Sometimes twice as fast as that, where we start seeing the weeds dying down simply by getting more active ingredient in faster, substantially
Now,
more.
when you talk about the nanotechnology, and I heard you say both herbicides and fungicides, is there more efficiency with one versus the other, or would it be with the mode of action? Would nanotechnology help speed up some of our slower modes of action, if you will?
Yeah, so we were really made to help systemic products, right? So
Hmm.
work extremely well with these products that we want to get into the plant. They're typically slower acting, not contact. Although what we found with the contact herbicides is, yeah, they work really, really well with the systemics. What we found with the contact herbicides is we tend to, like you said, get them off the leaf where they tend to do a lot of crop damage
Yeah.
as far as the crop goes. So instead of laying there on the leaf, they were able to get them off the leaf surface where they're going to get hammered by the sun and start burning the crop. We get them into the plant so they can be metabolized, and then we doing the same thing for the weeds. So we get into the weed quick, and they start dying. I mean, what we found is we work. I would say, from my experience with it, and I'm just as well or better with the contact herbicides.
So you described this, and also the name is nano yield. So it sticks out, right? Nanotechnology for growers. Are there
Yep.
separate product names that go specifically with certain herbicides, et cetera, that folks should be talking to dynamic cropping systems about?
Yeah, I mean, so we've got products, the Nano Pro. We tend to, on the nanotechnology side, we tend to focus on the Nano Pro is the one that goes with crop protection products.
Okay.
Nano N, and the next one's kind of confusing. It's called Nano N. It stands for nanonutrient. Everybody thinks nitrogen
Oh.
when they hear that, of course. So I think they should have maybe considered a different name, but that's just me. Um, but Nano N goes with the crop nutrients. So any liquid fertilizer, and the reason they're different is because the Nano N is a slightly smaller nanoparticle. Crop nutrient molecules tend to be smaller. That tends to work better. Nano Pro is a slightly larger nanoparticle, a little bit different shape, I guess. So they took the nanoparticles that seemed to work the best getting into the plant, and then added those to the product. So, and then we also have a product called Nano Coat, which is a dry fertilizer coating. And then, what that does, the technology behind that is essentially we're coating that dry fertilizer with empty nanoparticles. As that nutrient starts to release into the soil, these nanoparticles grab that, hold that nutrient in a we'll call it protected state in those nanoparticles. They're lightly bound by the soil, but not tightly bound. They will slowly leach through the soil profile as well, but they won't leach as fast as a nitrogen molecule, for example. So, or nitrate. And then once one of those nanoparticles, comes in contact with a root or root hair, we're coming in through the plant the same as through endocytosis, the same as if we're coming in through the leaf. A lot more and a lot faster.
With so much discussion about fertilizer right now, not only just prices, but concerns about availability. Most folks are getting what they need. There may be some spot outages, etc. Have you been getting some calls about some maybe non-traditional fertilizer products that you offer? And what would you recommend maybe as one of those top ideas growers should be thinking about if they're making some changes right now as they're planting?
Yeah, I think number one, I think the Nano N, simply adding it into liquid starter or a liquid, side by side nitrogen or side dress nitrogen or the nano coat on the dry fertilizer. It's a great way to, number one, make sure you're getting the most out of that expensive investment that we're doing right now. But number two, you've got a lot of guys out there that are really making some hard decisions over, do I continue to put on a build fertilizer program, or can I use a product like this and maybe if I'm going to cut back a little, maybe I can still end up with the same or more amount of nutrient in the plant simply by adding a new technology such as the nano yield, the nanotechnology.
Greg, you've done a great job of explaining the nanotechnology and helping us see some differences in products that could probably be used in everybody's operation these days. But I know there's more to it. And I would suggest that if folks want to visit with you, they can do that by looking at Dynamic Cropping Systems website. But is there a phone number that they could call to make some of those decisions with you?
Yeah, my number is 218-779-9079. You can also look at the DCS. It's just DCS Ag, so dcsag.com, and then all of Jerry at the head office over there, his number, and Justin Spivey is my cohort on the Minnesota side of the river. I handle the North Dakota side of the river, and we'd be happy. Any of the three of us would be happy to visit with you on this.
Well, and if someone is listening and they're like, oh, I didn't get all that information, they can email me, ag@flagfamily.com. I have Greg's number, I have Jerry's number, I have Justin Spivey's number, and I think I also have Jerry's son who's been on radio with us with the drones. So I'll hook you up with whoever you need.
Sadly, Bridgette, you've had my number for a while now.
Well, I know. We've known each other a lot of years. Thanks for joining us today, Greg. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
All right, we will talk shortly on the next break. We want to recap a few headlines that are coming up and let you know when I'll be out again for the Flag a Farmer program. Well, stay tuned. Earlier this week, I had the chance to go out and flag some farmers. We dropped off bags of cab snacks and fresh United States flags to fly off your equipment in your farmyard or at your shop. And we're going to be doing that again. Monday, I was able to join Blake Sunday, and he and I went out to travel and take care of those flags. He's with Landmark Companies. They are, in fact, your drainage leader in the region, and he joins us monthly for the drainage difference, which I greatly appreciate as well. We're going to do that whole thing again with Flag of Farmer coming up in a couple weeks with Geronimo Power. So keep an eye out. You just never know when you'll see us out and about and taking care of business with you in the field. Then, next hour, Jay Thomas's show. It'll be the phrase that pays. Well, I hope you're ready. I hope you know what it is. I don't. So it's your turn to play, not mine. But those folks that call in have the opportunity to win cold hard cash by knowing the phrase that pays. Sponsors for this are Laney's, where you can fetch a free outdoor AC unit when you purchase a new Coleman high efficiency furnace. Hey, if you haven't tested those AC units yet, time's a wasting. Get those things done. If you have concerns, call Laney's. ATI Diesel of Fargo, JD's Barbecue. Maybe you want to pick some up on the way home tonight for supper. And this week's cash sponsor, Brady Service Center in Moorhead. They have a new Google appointment button on their website that makes it much easier to make a repair appointment for your vehicle, and you have access to schedule 24 hours a day, because what if something pops up unexpectedly and you need to take care of it? We talked an awful lot about livestock yesterday with Justin from the Lakes joining me. He's going to be in on Monday, sitting in my chair with Don Kinsler as his guest. I got to be out for the day, but you're in very, very capable hands with Justin. And an offshoot of our cattle discussion is there's a breed out there that maybe you're not familiar with, the Murray Grey. Now, Angus is probably still one of the most popular, well-known names across cattle breeds in the U.S., but the Murray Grey were created in New South Wales, Australia in 1905, so they feel a little bit new along the lines of breeds and herds. This was a roan shorthorn cow. So when I think about roans, I think about a very different color pattern, usually a white or gray that's blended with more of a red, like a strawberry roan, or I've even seen blue roans depending on their coloring. And that shorthorn was bred with an Angus bull. The cow was said to produce 12 polled calves that went on to be the foundation of the breed. Now, there's other evidence that suggests the breed was actually created in Australia when ranchers bred blue roan bulls with cows. So take your legend as you'd like it. But they are known to be very low maintenance. They have great calving ease with growth, quality carcasses, and a very tame disposition. Now, with that disposition, sometimes you like to rope a calf. You might need a little bit of fire in them. Well, the Murray Greys, they're so calm. They're like, sure, whatever. I guess we're going to have practice today. They don't exactly get too worked up. Now, they come in varying shades of gray, which can be both an asset and a liability. The lighter gray helps reflect more heat than a dark-hided animal. So on those hot summer days, they feel a little bit cooler. But the genetic inheritance of this color isn't really well understood. They are, however, incredibly efficient on grass. They are largely marketed as a grass and forage efficient breed, and many people find between that and their disposition a great reason why they want to raise the Murray Grey. They are well marbled meat. They have shown a higher carcass quality than other breeds for that particular grazing model. Very tender, and they don't have a gamey finish that sometimes grass-fed beef can have. So you can very easily finish them on grass or in any other matter like with corn as you may so choose. So they might be worth checking out if you're looking to get into cattle and looking for a different breed, especially if you're truly looking for a grass finish. This may be an opportunity for you. And as I started the week, when I said that Billie Eilish, or whatever her name is, that you can't love animals and meat all at the same time, oh, you misguided child. We can all eat and enjoy meat. May is Beef Month, and we can still love on those animals as livestock producers who treat them incredibly well. Thanks for joining me today. Look forward to seeing you next week. The Jay Thomas Show is next.